Split is written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan and stars James McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy, Betty Buckley, Haley Lou Richardson, and Jessica Sula. And in Split, a young woman called Casey, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and two other girls are kidnapped by a mysterious man played by James McAvoy, who has 23 unique personalities living within him due to his dissociative identity disorder. Now, I was pretty stoked to see Split because it was being hyped to me as like M. Night Shyamalan's big comeback film, and what I will say about Split is that the more I think about it, the more in love I am with its ideas and how it works as a horror film, but the more I recognize that it does have glaring flaws and it's just not that great of a film. But I still totally enjoyed watching Split. It has an incredible performance from James McAvoy, but its storytelling really is quite shaky. First and foremost, if you have any curiosity whatsoever about James McAvoy's performance in this film, you should go out and see Split, because he is worth it. He is the reason to see this. He is incredible as all these personalities. You don't get to see all 23, of course, you get to see a few, but the few that you do see all feel like fully fleshed out characters. And there are scenes where he's fearsome, where he's vulnerable and funny, sometimes he's all three at the same time. And Anya Taylor-Joy is one of the best young actresses working today, especially in horror. She just completely disappears into any role she takes. She comes off as completely authentic the entire time, and I love her, and we share the same birthday, so I don't know what that means. Surprisingly, one other reason to see Split is M. Night Shyamalan himself. Like, his direction in this film is really good. It's nowhere near as good a movie as The Sixth Sense, but he still shows that he has it in him. He knows how to build tension, especially towards the end of the film, and he does a terrific job at balancing the elements of horror with humor and especially drama, just like in how, you know, The Sixth Sense was more of a drama, really, than a horror film. Split is not a particularly scary movie, but it does get surprisingly touching towards the end. This movie also just looks great. The production design and the costume design are very spare, but they're effective in that way. There's some makeup and visual effects towards the end that are convincing, and the cinematography here from Mike Gelakis, who also shot It Follows, adapts well to each situation. You know, there's some times when the camera work is very claustrophobic, there's some scenes where the cinematography is very dreamlike, and sometimes it's just downright scary. And like in any good thriller, the sound does ramp up to help with the tension, and the musical score from Wes Dylan Thornton reminded me of the score from Unbreakable, in that, you know, the film is kind of quiet for the most part, I think, but there are some key moments that are really elevated by this understated score. And what's interesting about the way Split is edited by Luke Franco Ciarocci is that it turns this film into a third-person narrative. You get just as much perspective from James McAvoy's character as Anya Taylor-Joy's character, and that really helps balance things out. And like I mentioned at the beginning, as a horror film, I love what this movie does. I love what it says about mental illness. Like, it doesn't just demonize it, it really has statements about the stigma surrounding it and surrounding abuse as well. I'll say more about this in a bit. But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of things wrong with Split as well. It's not quite a great film yet. One thing in particular is that Haley Lou Richardson and Jessica Sula, while they're fine in this movie, they're totally overshadowed by Anya Taylor-Joy and James McAvoy, so they just kind of end up looking a bit out of place. And Betty Buckley as the psychiatrist of James McAvoy's character isn't exactly great, but I would really chalk that up to the fact that her character is nothing but an exposition machine. I didn't care for her, I didn't think she was a rounded character in any way. She's just there to tell the audience about the ID. And the characters for the other two girls, like, they have nothing to do either. And while I understand why this movie has these therapy session scenes and, you know, why they have to talk about DID, the way these scenes play out, like, it feels like you're sitting in class. And so it makes the first act kind of hard to sit through, honestly. Like, that first act isn't very well made, in my opinion. One other problem that I think a lot of people will have with this movie is the flashbacks to Casey's past that are, you know, the way they're put into the film, it's just not done well at all and really takes you out of it. In the end, though, I do still think Split is an okay movie. I do like it, like, on the same level as Unbreakable, I think. It's still a big step forward for M. Night Shyamalan. It's not quite a great return to form, in my opinion, but it's a step in the right direction. One thing I have to say, though, just very quickly before this ends, is that I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding Split because a lot of people saw the trailer and immediately petitioned to boycott against the movie, saying that it demonizes people with DID, and having seen the film, I can tell you it doesn't do that. In fact, a lot of the horror comes from the stigma surrounding mental illness, and it comes from, the film definitely comes from a place of sympathy. So I hope you guys can give it a chance at least before judging it. Yeah. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Split. If you guys have seen it, please tell me what you thought about it, and whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.